allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Lasky. Here. Mayor Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Keck.
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Community Development Director.
Here.
Police Chief.
Here.
Fire Chief.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Any council member with a conflict of interest regarding an agenda item should disclose at this time. Public hearing, we have none. Citizen comment on agenda-related items. Any citizens with correspondence to be distributed to council should provide items to city clerk prior to the start of the meeting or after the meeting is adjourned, limited to 5 minutes.
Hello, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'm Sammy Lukaskevitz. I live at 319 Fifth Avenue here in Manistee. I'm the director of I don't even know my title anymore, of Manistee County Tourism Authority. I'm up for, I guess, nomination for DDA. I've been on the board for the last couple of years, and I still have a little bit left to give, so I'd appreciate your support in the nomination. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of council may have an item removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Items include approval of minutes, cash balances, revenue and expenses, balance sheet, consideration of zoning ordinance Z26-02 to amend the Manistee City zoning ordinance. At this time, council will take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes,
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of resolution authorizing the city to apply for a rural heritage partnership grant. The Manistee Fire Department is applying for a rural heritage partnership grant to support necessary infrastructure improvements at the fire station. The proposed project is in replacement of 4 overhead apparatus bay doors with a total cost estimate of $70,000. The grant requires 15% local match, which is anticipated to be paid through the city's capital improvement fund. At this time, council will take action to approve the resolution authorizing the city to apply for a rural heritage partnership grant. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I wish you lots of luck.
Thank you. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
yes,
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. The city clerk has taken action to advertise vacancies on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Compensation Commission, Downtown Development Authority, Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission, Oil and Gas Investment Board, Parks Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals. Mayor and manager appointments require a motion, second, and council support vote. Nominations for council appointments do not require a second. After all nominations are made, council votes on the nominees until one nominee receives the majority support. The following applications have been received. Downtown Development Authority, 3 vacancies, 1 unexpired term ending 6/30/27 and 2 terms ending 6/30/30. Purpose, Central Business District and Tax Increment Financing Authority, manager appointment. We have Sammy Lukaskevitz, 319 Fifth Avenue, and Benjamin Crowley, 363 River Street. Oil and Gas Investment Board, 1 vacancy term ending 6/30/30. Purpose, oversees investment of oil and gas trust fund. Mayoral appointment, Jeff Rowe, 2768 Crescent Beach Road. We have George Vita, who pulled his application, so he is not on there. Parks Commission, 3 vacancies, term ending 6/30/29. Purpose, advisory on Parks Department, maintenance, improvements, and identifying, planning, implementing public and private beautification projects. Mayor appointment, Scott Warson, 816 Robinson Street, Karen Mao, 536 4th Street, Karen Patola, 264 First Avenue. At this time, Mayor and Council can take action to make appointments as noted. Bill, if you want to start with the DDA.
Yes, I'd like to appoint Sammy Lukaskevitz, 319 Fifth Avenue, to the term ending 6/30/30.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Heather, would you please take roll?
As I call your name, please respond with yes or no. Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Keck?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Rezga?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
I'd like to appoint Benjamin Crowley, 363 River Street, to a term ending 6/30/30.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Who was my second? Was it?
Liz is
Lasky?
the second, yes.
Thank you.
Would you please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Keck?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Rezga?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, oil and gas, I would like to appoint Jeff Rowe to the term ending 6/30/30. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Rezga?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Keck?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Parks Commission, I would like to appoint Scott Warson, 816 Robinson Street, to the term ending 6/30/29. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? I'll second. Heather, would you please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Keck?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Rezga?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. I would like to appoint Karen Mao, 536 4th Street, to the term ending 6/30/29. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Keck?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Rezga?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Third appointment, I would like to appoint Karen Patola, 264 First Avenue, to the term ending 6/30/29. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Rezga?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Keck?
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Now we will have a report from the engineer of record, Sean Middleton with Spicer.
That was fast. Hey, good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm Sean Middleton with Spicer Group. Lucas and I will be presenting tonight on Engineer of Record. When I seen it was going to be a sunny June day, I knew it was the day for the Engineer of Record presentation, which keeps everybody inside for. But I'm going to briefly hit on Spicer Group as a whole, and a little bit about our projects and our process and what we do for the city. And then Lucas is going to talk mostly about our 2025-26 projects.
Do you have the clicker
I
up
do
there?
not
or-
have the clicker. Is it
Oh,
up
it's
here?
not there? Is it up there?
I can,
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh, I even clicked the right way. So we keep growing in our Manistee office. We have 15 people that are assigned to the office out of here working out of here every day. We're very lucky. We got some great local talent. Some people drive farther than others, but generally speaking, everybody's from the area. We have 10 offices in addition to, or with Manistee, and then 5 offices outside of Michigan and Ohio and Georgia. Out of those offices, we have about 400 people working for the company. So we're probably be considered a mid to larger firm, but obviously not a national type level firm, even though we do national work. A lot of faces here. A lot of city staff members might recognize a lot of these people. These are the people that support all of us in the Manistee office. And because I'm going to back up, our Manistee office staff, some of them are here. We got Katie and Alex and Pat and James, all doing a lot of great things for us. We hired 2 new people. Alex, I guess, should be considered new this year, and along with Matt, he's our construction oversight. We got some really, really great people on board now. So we have a lot of support in all different fields. A lot of these guys come into town, help us out with designs or construction. So you'll see them here as well, even though they're not out of this office. We've always had this slide up. We're big on community support. We either volunteer or support financially wherever we can. wherever it's feasible. These are some of the, either groups or events or organizations we've supported over the years. Our company, I think most of you know this, but we're what we would call a full-service firm. I won't go through all of these, but basically we provide a lot of different professional services across the board. Architecture, surveying, GIS, engineering, all different types of engineering. And basically one way of summing it up, especially in the city of Manistee, is we provide almost any municipal service that's required, with a city or a village or a township. There's a few we work with others on, but generally speaking, we're a municipal type organization. There's two areas that we provide to the city of Manistee services, what we call general engineering consulting, or GEC, it's often referred to. That's our kind of it's a retainer we're on with the city, and it's kind of like with a doctor or a lawyer, we're here to answer questions, we consult, we go to a lot of meetings, we prepare, and actually I'm going to flip to a slide to talk about it. We prepare small grants. We do a lot of cost estimates on the front ends of doing our proposals to the city. So it's a lot of just conversations. I really feel like we're part of the staff. We participate in staff meetings, and we understand the city's business. We're very familiar with it, which we think helps a lot in our efficiencies and how we do our work. So that's the general engineering. So that's not projects. That's kind of bigger picture, helping out where we can. And there's quite a list of things we do there that I won't get into. But on the project side, this is where a bulk of our work is. We do a lot of work on projects, whether it's a small project, medium, large. There's a lot of steps. Projects are complex. Like a lot of what we do, people don't see it. They don't understand what we do. It's hard to appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. But we take from the very beginning where an idea or concept comes up, we work with the city, we identify alternatives, we'll study it, we'll narrow it down to something that's going to work for the city. Then we'll pull in people like Pat and James to survey it, and we'll get existing conditions data, we'll prepare plans, we'll pull permits. Permits are complex in themselves, especially if we're working along the river corridor. And take those, comments from the city and permitting, prepare final plans, then ultimately prepare a bid package with plans, specs, and solicit bids from contractors. Finally awarding, to a contractor, which you see that a lot in this room here where we award contracts. And then once we have a contract awarded, kind of on the right-hand side, we have a whole construction side of what we do. And there's a lot of pieces to that. The construction admin phase is kind of, I would say, the office part where we're answering a lot of questions, coordinating with the public, putting notices out. We're doing change orders, progress payments, and generally kind of managing the project on a big level. We'll do contractor staking. Again, our survey guys will help contractors know exactly where to put something, at what elevations, what grades. We have inspection, which ranges on projects. We have projects where we just do spot inspections because it's not necessary to be watching them all the time. And we have other projects with a lot of underground infrastructure that'll never be seen again except for the day they put in. We're watching that typically on a full-time basis, critical infrastructure like water and sewer and those things that are, need to be put in right, and you only get one chance to see it done by the contractor. So our inspectors are basically ensuring quality, and we're building the plans and specs. In addition to the inspection, our inspectors will also do material testing. That's density testing of soils and aggregates, concrete testing. We'll take cylinders, they'll break them to make sure the concrete meets the strength. And that's on the material testing side. And all of those, both inspection and material testing, we prepare reports and document in detail. And then we close out all the projects. Heather can appreciate this. When the projects are done, the only kind of living documents left, other than what you can see out there, is going to be plans and specs. Could be grant applications, could be grant documents. Some of the associated things with construction, like the shop drawings, all of that, we kind of bind up. We archive it in PDF format and give it to the city. And so that's where it resides in the end. And Might not be that important for many, but like engineers, they'll come back 10, 15 years from now. It's really critical data a lot of times, so. This is, I'm not going through this either, don't worry. This is just, it's kind of taking a lot of those things we did, I just showed you, and putting it a little bit sequential. But every project we do may not take all these steps, but a lot of these steps are required. And that's why I make sometimes the small projects are the biggest pain, I guess, because you still need to go through a lot of this process and get bids and do everything, even if it's a small job. So it's just kind of show you the steps and what we need to go through on a project is really that, what's laid out there. With that, I'll turn it over to Lucas. He's going to talk a little about grants and mostly about 2025 projects.
Good evening, Council. So as Sean mentioned, going to dive more into the project implementation side of things here. One of the first things that we kind of do with the city when we learn about a project is how we try to figure out how we're going to fund it, right? So it might not be the most important thing, but it kind of is the most important thing. So whether that be finding grant opportunities, researching low interest loans, loan forgiveness programs, working with the developer to share costs, if it's straight city funds, or other funding opportunities, we're starting from ground zero and trying to figure out what dollar that we can leverage for the project. So this list here is all of the grants that we've applied for and received. Some of them we didn't receive on this list since we came on board with the city of Manistee in 2013. We've applied for about $9 million worth of grants, and we've received about $7.2 million, which is pretty awesome. A lot of those projects probably couldn't have happened without receiving the grants. So we're thankful, and I'm sure the city's very thankful of getting those grants as well. So that was a big thing that I wanted to talk about in the presentation. The most recent ones that we're kind of working on right now, of course, River Street RAP grant, that was it was over $750,000, and then city staff and us worked with Community Foundation to get some additional funds there as well. The Marina Pump Out grant down at the marina was a DNR grant that we're working to implement, and then I think soon to be taken care of is that man-made lake property acquisition through the DNR. So lots of grants, lots of time going through all that. So this is just a list of all the projects that we worked on for the city in 2025. Some of these are construction and some are not. There's a lot here. We're not going to go through all the lists, but just wanted to show there's a lot of different things that we assisted in this past year. One thing that Sean didn't mention is, as a part of the closeout process is definitely GIS. So once we get the as-built taken from our inspectors in the construction phase of things, we introduce all of that data for the infrastructure in the city's GIS, which is an online database that shows all the infrastructure line work, the record drawings, the easements, any survey data that we take, and this is the home for all of that information. So we assisted back in 2015-ish with the SAW grant to develop the GIS for the city. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been spent on the GIS over the course of a decade. Lots of hours from the city staff and engineering that has gone into this, and it'll be a lot better for keeping that institutional knowledge for the next group of employees. I know that we use it, and the DPW uses this every single day, and there's over 125 different layers, which are, sanitary sewer is one layer for the entire city, and 125 plus of those layers for the whole city. So there's a lot of information in there. This is just a map of all the projects in construction in 2025 and 2026. The red is all of the 2025 projects that were completed, and then the blue is either ongoing or upcoming in 2026. So as you can see, it's pretty scattered all around the city, and I know we've had other maps during like the State of the Streets presentation and whatnot that you can remember, but lots of projects going on. I'm sure everybody enjoys seeing Michigan's state flower, the orange barrel, out this summer again. I'm just gonna fly through these projects, so if you got questions or if there's anything about them individually that you're curious about, feel free to just interrupt me, but in 2025, the projects that were completed, the first in this winter, spring was the US 31 CIPP project. CIPP stands for Cured in Place Pipelining, so that's where we introduce a cured in place liner inside the sanitary sewer that takes place of the sanitary sewer. And those pipes that were under US 31 north of Harrison Street were all non-reinforced concrete pipes that had already collapsed in 3 places. So now that we've introduced these liners, we should feel a lot better about having the US 31 project coming up in the next 2 years in that area. The other project that happened early last spring was the First Street Relief Sewer. If you recall, probably 5-6 years ago, something like that, there was a big flooding event that happened in the Cherry Street Pump Station District. A lot of basements flooded, and this project was a study that we did for a couple years, and we were able to give a little bit of relief, about a foot of relief to the sanitary sewer in that area in a flood, if it ever happens that high of a chance again. Spruce Street water main improvements and mill and fill project. The city actually didn't even have record of an existing water main that was down this hill, and we found it during construction. But that usually means it's original, so 125 years old. So we replaced that, as well as there was actually a broken section of the water main and a lead gooseneck for one of the property owners on 3rd Street that we were able to get out of the system. And then, of course, mill and filling Spruce Street that got lifted from that water main break. Ramsdale Theater pillar rehab, we were able to bank on a local project at the fire station. The contractor had a kind of a niche for this kind of stuff. We were able to go over and rehab the pillars there at the Ramsdale. The truck route project, this was a Category F grant. We mill and filled the truck route from US 31 on 1st Street all the way down to 8th Street where the Painted Lady is, and replaced all 40 ADA ramps, a part of that project to get ADA compliance through the whole truck route there. Previously mentioned the fire station. This is a big facade type project, removing the paint and upgrading the bricks there, and a lot of painting work. As you can see, the kind of progression through there, it's pretty amazing how different the fire station looks now, and I think it's a lot better than where it was before, right, Tom? Washington Street, we mill and filled from Memorial Drive up to Veterans Oak Grove Drive, and then replaced a block and a half of water main and switched over every single water service on that street. There was 2 different water mains. We switched them all over to the newer water main. The Riverwalk EDA grant, I think everybody's pretty entwined with this one, but a lot of structural and boardwalk repairs on that project. And then 2026 ongoing, I'm happy to finally announce the Veterans Memorial Park is finally under construction, which is awesome. Oh, I think I skipped one. Yep. And then at the Clean Water Recovery Facility, we got some HVAC improvements going on down there. And of course, River Street is under construction, and it seems like we have meetings on this every day or every other day. Lots of stuff going on down there. 2026 upcoming, not even out to bid yet, so these obviously aren't under construction. First and Maple Street rehab, the state has dedicated $600,000 to the city to upgrade the detour route that's going to be used for the US 31 project. And in conjunction with that, the city's got some budget allocated for upgrading street name signs with the new logos and upgrading the old black and white signs that you can't read. We're going to extend that project down to the beach on 1st Street. And as a part of that project, we're also going to do miscellaneous overlays around town as budget allows, like we did last year. And then 14th Street, 15th Street, and Maywood Avenue is a total reconstruction. That street, if you've been up there, is about 99% cold patch. So that'll be really nice to upgrade that one. All of that is going to be combined into one bid that you'll see in the coming months. And then the marina pump out project, I'm not sure when that's starting, but here pretty soon. And then we just talked about it this morning, but implementing the second phase of site improvements at the fire station. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for having us on board here. We all appreciate, I mean, obviously everybody here loves working in this community and loves working with you all. But I'll take any questions if you have any.
We're good. Thank you.
Want me to leave this, Heather?
You can, yes, thanks.
Mr. McCullough is not here this evening, so he will do his report at another date. So, Chief Herndon.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Council. This is your update for the Regional Fire Authority that we're exploring. So we continue to work with our partners, including the Manistee Township, Filer Township, Onekama Township, and Stronach Township. These discussions remain centered on evaluating and coming up with a long-term sustainable approach to fire and EMS services across the greater Manistee area. As outlined in our recent press release, this initiative is driven by our increasing pressures on the emergency response system that we currently have now. We're having problems with ongoing staffing shortages and challenges that way. Most of that stems around the reduction of volunteer firefighters, and less people are entering into the volunteer fire service. We have increased call volume, continued reliance on mutual aid, and a need for a model that is sustainable and something updated to provide for the future needs of our community. So we continue refining this interlocal agreement. What we did is all of these participating agencies signed a letter of intent or did a resolution of support where we each entity did a put 2 members to a steering committee. Our steering committee continues to meet bi-monthly on average, and some of the things that we're working on with that is just a governor or a structure of how we would do a board and representation of this authority, how we would fund the funding methodology and the cost sharing of a regional fire and emergency EMS services, and asset ownership and how we would transition all of our assets and come up with a new capital improvement plan. So this work continues, the financial modeling and evaluating service delivery improvements. It's long-term sustainability, staffing reliability, and consistent coverage across all of these jurisdictions. These are the types of things that we're trying to improve. And as part of the next phase of this initiative, we are increasing our focus on public communication and transparency. The recent press release highlighted that the project is moving into the broader community engagement phase, where we plan on having public information materials, stakeholder outreach, and educational resources explaining our current operations, challenges, and future models. What we're excited to be launching soon is going to be a centralized website. It will be launched with the primary to give updates, FAQs, meeting information, and a targeted go live date of when you'll be able to view and get this information off our website. It's important to emphasize that no final decisions have been made regarding creating this. It's really centers around our steering committee coming together and formulating a plan and something that we communicate to the public to give them that information. Overall, this process remains very collaborative with our partners. It's really encouraging working together. So Mr. Bradford's been putting together a proposed budget, which he'll go over a little bit and give you some information on what we're looking like and what a budget of this fire authority would look like. And we're excited for the future model of a transparent, sustainable, long-term fire and EMS needs for the greater Manistee area. And with that, Ed, would you like to go over a little bit of the budget? And then after he does that, open to any questions you may have.
Thanks, Tom.
Good evening, council. I was tasked with putting together a budget for this proposed fire authority. A lot of help from Tom and from the partners, including Chief Johnson from Onekama Township, and kind of pulling everything together. So the document is about 18 pages long, and I'll just kind of run through it to give you an idea of the level of detail and thought that's been put into this to kind of make the numbers work, because the budget really drives what it would look like for each community and what that cost structure is going to be. So you can see, you know, the document includes the partners that are going to potentially be in the new fire authority. There's an introduction letter from Chief Herndon and Chief Johnson, which covers a lot of what Tom just talked about, the need for looking at a broader collaborative approach. There's some background information on the fire authority, kind of how we got to where we are, what some of the goals are, and things of that nature in this document. And then this is a really important section. It's a timeline that kind of runs through where we need to be in order to hit certain metrics. And everything really kind of works backwards from the August 11th date, which is when the townships have to have their ballot language approved and into the county to be able to vote for a millage, which I think most of the townships are going to be asking for. The city is not going to be asking for any additional millage. We're going to be funding the fire department through our general operating millage like we always have. But this just kind of lays out the different steps in the process. Chief mentioned they're going to be launching the website, I think on June 12th. And then there's kind of some steps in the process from there as you go through that. On the budget itself, the biggest piece of this obviously is figuring out what the revenue would look like in order to support what the services are. So we kind of work backwards from what the expenses were going to be, crafted a revenue model. And it's very common in fire authorities to have a funding formula that's comprised of 3 parts, and that can vary. But there's the fairly standard ones which we've chosen are on property values, a fixed allocation, and then calls for service. So it's a 70-15-15 formula. And that's a way, it's generally acknowledged as equitable and legally defensible and a best practice to have this kind of funding formula for different communities that are in a fire authority. So with that formula, we get to what that means for each of the communities. And I've got some tables here in the budget which show that and show what the final contribution would be over in that far right column. Then in the table below that, it shows kind of what the equivalent voted millage rate would be if you were going to be voting a millage. And that varies obviously based on what your taxable value is in the community, but the amount of money that has to be raised is based on that funding formula, and then you back into what that millage rate would be. And as I mentioned, each of the communities that is going to participate, except for the city and the Little River Band, would probably be levying a millage. So one of the parts in this process is to draft uniform language to give to all the communities so that they can go through that and then approve that on the ballot, hopefully. Another piece, and that budget raises a certain amount of money, and then the next biggest piece is the charge for service for transport. And we have pretty good numbers for that based on how the city does it. And that's the next biggest component of that. So that works in addition to the funding formula. And you can see this next table kind of shows what we're estimating. It's about $660,000, I believe. Then there's a few other little items in there. There's contract services, so the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, since they don't have a taxable value to be able to levy a millage on, we'd be negotiating a contribution from them. And then obviously there's cost recovery and grants and things like that. We don't have any grants built into the budget, even though we know we're going to get some because we're trying to be conservative. And first and foremost, obviously the local revenue sharing board grants that we've all enjoyed would continue to happen. But there's also a thing called SAFER grants, which fund positions if you commit to having them for a number of years. A lot of communities don't take advantage of those because they don't want to have their hands tied, but when you have a new startup organization, it's pretty easy to do that. So hopefully there would be some of that money available when we get a little bit closer if this happens. Then we kind of look at the staffing. And this was put together to basically have 24/7 service at 4 different stations initially, and then have the appropriate administration, and then also continue to have some paid on-call staff. This model assumes that there's going to be 12 paramedics and going to be 12 EMT firefighters. So those would be the core people that are providing the service, as well as the paid on-call. And you can see the organizational chart in that document that Chief Herndon put together. You know, is 4 stations an ideal amount to have for this fire district? Probably not. I mean, if you're doing it from scratch, you wouldn't have 4 stations, but that's what's proposed initially. And then if this fire district or fire authority happens as we move through and operations get sorted out a little bit, I mean, that could change down the road, but that's what the budget plans for right now. You know, we talk about the biggest piece of the budget, obviously, are wages and benefits. And I did a very detailed wage and benefit budget for the authority based on that staffing chart that I just showed you. One of the things you have to keep in mind is, you know, we have a fully unionized workforce here at the city, and the statute that authorizes fire authorities requires that you bring over that collective bargaining agreement into the fire authority for at least 6 months until a new contract can be negotiated. So the budget assumes that the workforce is going to be fully unionized, with the exception of administration. So I just want to put that out there because, you know, that it's not just going to be like an at-will employment situation. The budget also assumes that we're going to be preserving the wages and benefits of the active city firefighters that kind of come into the fire district. But this section kind of goes through each of the areas. It talks about the wages and benefits. It talks about you know, some of the fringes, the health insurance, the other insurance. One of the big issues is retirement. You know, the question is, how do you handle the current city staff that have a defined benefit pension plan through MERS? Because the budget assumes that the new firefighters that are hired in aren't going to have a defined benefit pension plan. They're going to have a very robust defined contribution plan. And so what will end up likely happening is there'll be a 2-tier contract negotiated. But in terms of the retirement plan, the way the budget handles that is the city is responsible for all of our current retirees, and the firefighters that would be moving over to the fire authority would be responsible for, and the assets and liabilities would get split accordingly. There's a lot of discussion and work that has to happen to make that go through, but I've talked with MERS at length, and that's how they recommend doing that. You know, this just talks about all the different aspects of the wage and benefit packages in this section of the document. You know, and then there's a chart here that kind of breaks out in aggregate between administration, firefighter, paramedics, firefighter, EMTs, and the paid on-call folks. And you can see that's the bulk of the budget. The next section of this document gets into the operational stuff, and you know, I have the benefit of knowing what the city's budget is, and I also am the treasurer for Onekama Township, so I know what their budget is. And I was able to get information for Filer Township, Manistee Township, and Stronach Township. And by kind of molding that all together and trying to simplify it, and you know, there's some stuff that isn't totally clear, but it's a pretty good ballpark. We have an operating budget of about $550,000 for the fire authority. And so that's laid out here, kind of gives you amounts and what those would cover. You know, there's some areas where there may be some savings. The fire authority is going to have to go out and get bids for its property and casualty insurance and what have you, and that price may come down. So I think that's a conservative, meaning it's probably higher than what that budget will actually be. Then, of course, we have to talk about phase-in if the fire authority happens. You're not going to hire everybody in year one. So in this section of the budget, it talks about how that would get phased in over a 3-year period and kind of what percentages of revenue and operating expense and capital stuff would happen. The key to that is the revenue, if everybody joins the authority and levies their millage, which is the plan, the revenue will come in a lot faster in the first couple of years than the expenses. And that's the key to making the capital plan work, because there's a lot of excess money that goes into the capital fund to be able to fund the equipment that's needed for this authority. And so that's what we move on into the next section here. We looked at all the equipment for all of the participants, and then we looked at what was needed of that equipment. Some of the equipment would have is surplus and will be sold, but the total cost is about 9.5 million if you had to go out and buy it new. Then we look at, what is the equipment that's needed and what are each of the communities bringing to the table, and we give the communities credit for the value of the equipment that they're bringing to the table, plus the value of equipment that's going to get transferred to the authority and then be sold. And then you look at that and you compare that to what their expected participation rate would be, and then you can calculate a differential plus or minus. And then that's amortized over 15 years, and that's an adjustment to what the spending formula that I talked about a little bit ago is. And that's a very commonly accepted way to handle the capital contributions. And so that's what this section of the document does. We scheduled out the equipment. I scheduled out for like 25 years, but particularly the first 10 years I wanted to focus on. And, if all the assumptions in here kind of hold out, this funding formula allows all the capital needs of the authority to be funded. And I don't want to I can't overemphasize how important that is. The city is looking at replacing a ladder truck, $2.2 million, and another pumper truck for probably $800,000. That would have been likely ask the voters to vote a millage for a bond, which is what we did when we bought the ladder truck last time. Same thing with some of the other communities, they have older equipment. But by doing it this way and everybody pitching in, we're able to cash flow with some financing through banks, which is typical, or lease purchase, all of the equipment needs without having to issue any more debt or issue any more millage. So to me, that's one of the biggest benefits of the fire authority is being able to be very effective and efficient on the equipment, get rid of redundant equipment, and be able to afford that without having to kind of go back to the voters for more. So that's all laid out in the budget here, and that'll be out on the website. The next steps in the process are to start working on the ballot language so that the communities can have that. Also, this same presentation needs to go to Stronach and Manistee Township and Filer Township. We've already done it for Onekama Township and for the city of Manistee. But things will start to heat up. There'll be more activity. The steering committee is going to be meeting, regularly to kind of continue the momentum on this. But if this is going to come to fruition, this kind of lays out the roadmap of what that would look like. So I don't know if you have any questions for Chief Herndon or myself, but that's all I have for today.
I just have one question, and I may have asked this before, I just didn't write it down. What are we doing with the other townships, like Marilla Township, Springdale Township? Like, are they?
Yeah, right now, we're just talking with the communities directly, the Onekama Township, Manistee Township, and asking them. They are part of the steering committee, and they would be part of this fire authority. The other townships that border us or that are around us, it'd be similar to what we're doing now, is the mutual aid agreement.
Okay, at the same cost?
At the same, currently, right now, the mutual aid agreements would all be looked at across the board. If we were to create this fire authority, it would be run by a board. So we would look at the new mutual aid agreements, run those by that board, and negotiate those differently.
Okay, thank you. Any some questions, Liz?
Would the city still have the free ambulance, or how does that figure into this?
Yeah, the entire concept of this authority and bringing it out to the surrounding townships is to emulate exactly what we're doing here. Okay. We're raising everyone else's level of fire and EMS protection to our level. And that's why it's raising the costs in those other areas, but we're also really elevating the level of service that they provide. So we're taking our service on the road and raising their levels up to our level. So nothing changes with
So
those.
no cost to
No.
that. And then on that one that you currently have up, that the value of Onekama's equipment is 1.6 million and ours is 408. Is that right? Am I reading this wrong?
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. Onekama, just as instance, they just a few months ago they just put a new fire apparatus into service. Okay. They bought a new fire engine, which is something similar to what we were looking at. It was a $900,000 fire engine. That's what they've cost now.
Well, okay.
Anybody else?
I see you selected a consulting firm, Double House Solutions.
Correct.
So what kind of help have they been doing? And because I never heard, I mean, I just can't visualize what services something like that provide. And then how did you select?
So Double House Solutions was Mr. Gamble knows a little bit more, but that was our steering committee. We presented it to our steering committee. Our steering committee chose Double House Solutions. With that, they've been helping us gather materials, and it's really important that we get all factual materials that are run through and make sure that we're providing information. They're putting together and gathering all of our information, putting it into the website, gathering pictures, and just making sure that all the information that we put out is accurate for the people.
There'll be some public participation meetings that they'll be at too, correct, for that?
Yeah, that's a big part of it is the public engagement pieces. So it's a millage campaign. This group's done this type of work. They present at MME conferences, but I introduced them to Chief Herndon. They have Chief Mariucci, who he was comfortable with, and we presented it to the steering committee. So it was something that once we received that contribution from the steering committee, each partner gave $5,000. We presented, and that's how they were selected.
On page 109 of the board packet, it shows the actual number of runs. And does that include the hospital ambulance or not include the hospital ambulance?
Okay.
So I can't see it right here. I'm trying to find the page.
Yeah, page 109 of the packet.
So she's talking about the packet, not the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, where's the one?
Well, that's the runs right there, Tom.
Oh, so the call volumes right there, so those are the call volumes for each individual township.
And contracted services?
And that's how much so right now the way it works is, in Manistee Township, they do not, they don't respond to the casino or to the correctional facility or the nursing home. Medical
Maple Ridge?
Medical care.
medical care, yeah. So between those three things, we weren't sure how to calculate the call volume
Okay.
because they weren't counted as fire department calls.
Right.
However, our authority would respond to those places, so that's how we covered those calls. It was a significant call volume.
Yeah.
And we had to capture it somehow.
All right, that answers that question. Thank you. On page 110, the next page of the packet, staffing indicates a fire marshal. What would the fire marshal's responsibilities be, and how would they be coordinated with the chiefs?
Okay, so the fire marshal would answer to the fire chief, okay, and his primary responsibilities would be fire prevention activities.
Okay.
To where, yeah, I would like to create a fire inspection program where we inspect commercial buildings because of this. They also do a lot of site plan reviews for new construction and those types of things.
So I guess the last thing I wondered about was the sale of the equipment that you figure is redundant, and then the money going back to the fire authority. So, and then they have to pay for any upgrades they need in each station out of,
Okay.
that just,
Yeah, so well, I mean, that's what we've been talking about. I mean, the equipment itself is obviously the apparatus and the ambulances and things like that. There's a whole bunch of other equipment, right? Turnout gear, SCBA, chainsaws, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have a really good way of modeling that, but we do include in there $50,000 a year towards that type of equipment. Now, that number could change a little bit, but that's a pretty good amount. Plus, we're still gonna get revenue sharing board grants. But in terms of, the budget does not include any money for each individual community that's gonna have a fire station to make the necessary upgrades to be able to have people there 24/7. That's gonna be the responsibility of each of the townships to do that. We thought that was the fairest way to do it. That's how that was laid out.
anyways, I guess, congratulations and thanks for the steering committee. A lot of work, looks really professional.
A lot into
And-
this, I appreciate that.
Yeah, a lot of good goals. Thank you. That's it.
Good team.
I got one last question. Where does MR fit into this at all? They were at at one of our previous meetings, so just, are they did they talk to you at all, or did you guys?
And that, we do have a meeting scheduled, and they did provide us with some literature for our steering committee. And that, but really what this is doing is by us elevating the surrounding townships' level of EMS protection, it is cutting into their call volume. And that, so it would affect them by reducing their call volume, which I'm assuming would affect their revenue and that, so.
I guess. Hasn't they said that they would pull out if they don't get some contract? It was just the write-up in that.
Okay, I haven't had those conversations or that conversation with MMR and that. I don't know on that.
Okay, that's one thing you should find out because they talked about it. You know, you keep talking about raising everything up. I know the city's gonna get stuck with a lot of these bills, because that's what you said at one of the meetings. That when we're gonna pay and then we're gonna bill the townships. Do the townships, I talked to some of the township people, and they don't agree with this. They said, you know, they disagree with the millage. I mean, we're counting a lot on millage, that everybody's gonna jump into it. And
So, Councilmember Grabowski, we've received the $5,000 contribution, initial contribution from each of the townships. So all of the work that's being done right now, the townships have already paid for. Whether or not, and that's supposed to take us pretty much all the way through the ballot initiative, right? The question would become, and that's something the steering committee kind of has to sort out. Let's say the millage doesn't pass in all the townships. Let's say it passes in 2 of the 4. I mean, does the fire authority continue to move forward? And I think the question is yes, I think it probably would, but that's gonna have to be, you know, a decision that's made at that point. I can't speak for Manistee Township or Filer Township, but, you know, my read of the pulse, at least in Onekama Township, is they're in favor of this. I think that's gonna pass there. I don't know about the other townships. The important thing is the voters get to decide what they want to do, right? So if they decide not to join the fire district or the fire authority, and the fire authority moves forward, you know, I think the intention is the mutual aid agreements that were in the past where there's no charge, that's going to go away because they're not paying their fair share to get the service from the city, which has the full-time employees. And we're gonna have to start billing, or the authority is gonna have to start billing the cost, the true cost of those services that they're providing to the townships for free right now, basically. So so they're gonna pay one way or another, I guess is the point. And they just have to decide what they want and what kind of, you know, what level of service they want. But that's why it's going to the millage likely in each township, so the voters have a say. It's not the township board just unilaterally doing that. I can't imagine a township would join the fire authority if they didn't get their millage approved. So it's really up to the voters on what they want to do. And that's the whole purpose of the consultant, to try to get the public education out there. There's going to be a flyer in the tax bills in all these communities that has more information on it. There's going to be the website, and, you know, we want people to make informed decisions.
I mean, you want to put in how many men? 24 men, 8 people on a shift. We're gonna pay, who's paying for all this, you know, right from the start? You're gonna be with the village, but you gotta still consider, you can't get bid now. How are you gonna put those 24 people out there?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of challenges that we need to take on with this, but that's what we're doing is by creating a robust, enhanced service in that, we're thinking we'll get more opportunity in that for people to come, to want to join and to be hired into our fire service. And we do have strategies coming forward of how we're going to do recruitment and retention strategies and just create an attractive position and a great place to live. Those are our goals.
You know, we lost one fireman to firing. Now you lost that young gal from out of school. She quit. I mean, I hear 4 more are talking about it. What's going on over here?
In that, I have not heard, I'm sorry, what?
I think we're getting outside the scope of,
Question?
I want to know these things.
but
This is what's gonna
Grabowski, this is not the time for that. We're talking about the fire district, not whatever personnel issues that are going on at the fire department right now. What?
Firemen are part of the fire district.
Correct, but that's not what we're talking about now as far as what's going on at the city fire. This is the district. My 2 questions, or my comment is, the 2 things I've been asked repeatedly. 18 pages is great. I understand that the steering committee is doing a tremendous amount of work. But the 2 questions I've been getting asked, and I can guarantee Jim's been asked the same thing.
Is our level of coverage and protection in the city gonna decrease? And are we gonna be, as city residents, who are already taxed higher than pretty much any the out-county places, are we gonna be paying more? Those are the two questions that need to be very, very, very clearly stated to the public, because we're getting lambasted with those questions.
Yeah. No, our level of service is not changing.
Okay.
And that our level of service is going to be increased.
Okay.
Because our next door neighbors will have the same level of service we have now. So when we need help, we will get an improved level of service. Currently, right now, it is just us as a staffed fire department. What we're doing is we're staffing the fire department to our north, we're staffing the fire department to our south. So when there's an emergency in the city, they respond immediately. We will receive better service by doing it this way. No, we are not increasing the cost to the city. What we're doing is we're raising everybody else's level up to ours. We're going to be sharing equipment, which is going to reduce the overall amount of equipment we need. Right now, our fire departments are all operating individually in different silos. That means every fire department tries to have all of the equipment, all of the resources, all of the trucks. By us working together, we're reducing that over the district, which is benefiting us by reducing everybody's equipment needs.
As long as it's,
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, citizens' comment, an opportunity for citizens in attendance to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement, limited to 5 minutes. Letter presented to council will not be publicly read. Anybody? Okay, Mr. Gamble.
Just an update to council about 210 Walnut. Mr. Blue has reached out to the owner and the contractor. Can I get an update, but we'll be escalating if needed.
So we've been through a long process with 210 Walnut. We came to an agreement with the owner's attorney. That agreement was a tiered agreement. If you remember the consent agreement we signed, finished the exterior by a certain time frame, finished the interior by a certain time frame. Project is stalled. I've reached out to the owner and the contractor, no response. Today I reached out to the attorney for the city to ask if he would reach out to the owner's attorney to find out what's happening. With no response, we'll have to make a decision if we want to go forward with that consent agreement, which gives the city the right to demo this property. We don't have to ask. We don't have to do anything but write the check. The court has ordered it. Both parties agreed, so that's where we're at. I was hoping not to have to come to this, but they signed the agreement. It's stalled. It's sitting there, nothing's happening again, so that's where we're at. I'll let the city manager know and what comes back from this fellow's attorney, and we'll keep you updated.
Thank you.
Have you gone back to the judge, so the judge knows what's going on?
We don't have to go back to the judge. We have an order saying the city can demo the property. They have not. They can try to stop us and file an injunction, but there's no need to inform the judge of anything. It's in writing, signed by the judge.
Okay, good to know that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Heather?
I just wanted to provide a reminder that council petitions are available for districts 1, 3, 5, and 7 for the upcoming November election, and that those petitions are due to my office by 4 p.m. on July 21st.
Thank you.
So just a reminder to get those back.
Ms. Roscoe?
Were you done, Bill?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. At the Ramsell this Friday, 7:30, the Spectral Silhouette Show will be performing an audio drama. It's inspired by old-time radio programs. Something different, might be kind of fun, throwing it out there. On Monday, I attended the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance event in Gaylord regarding data centers. They recorded it. They'll be sending it out to everybody who was invited. It was very informative, packed a lot of information in those few hours. So I just suggest when you get the link to view it, go ahead at your leisure. It was educational and helpful to understand a lot of things. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Grabowski.
Okay, Josh, did you get anything from, the neighbors up at, Maple and Nines, the lady that's in the house on the east side of the street? I've been getting calls, they're taking pictures, they said the yard is still a mess. She was gonna write a letter to you or to Tim.
I think our code enforcement officer for the same house I'm thinking of has talked to her and the neighbor, both. Is it regarding a fence or no? Is that a different
You know,
address?
I just got it, they just talked about it.
Yeah, just connect them to us and we can take care of it.
Okay, because, you know,
I haven't received anything to what you're talking about.
all right,
I can get you answers for our code enforcement officer if need be.
yeah.
Anything else,
Okay,
Jim?
thank you.
Ms. Keck?
I guess I just want to say thank you to whoever is putting out the social media on the downtown development. That's, seems to be a ache in a lot of people's side, but I don't think they were informed properly. So I've been seeing a lot of negative things about that on social media, so I appreciate the positive putting it out there and showing, telling everybody. And I know you're gonna say to me, we've had meetings, but
I was just gonna clarify, one thing I've seen on social media a lot is the marina building is not accessible, which is false. Right now, we've made a lot of temporary,
okay,
there's a lot of temporary ADA accessible ramps that are going to that building, and we're working with city staff like every week.
I have not seen that. What I'm seeing is misinformed. Oh, the road is closed, you're not gonna be able, where are we gonna put our Christmas tree, and where is the snow gonna go? And it's like, people, we've got engineers and everything
Well,
figuring this stuff out.
I will say, if there's questions that council is getting, feel free to direct them to our
Okay.
office and.
Yeah, this is nothing that's come to me personally, whether as counsel or, I just see it floating back and forth on social media, so I think just informing everybody, that's where they're getting their information from, so I just wanted to say I appreciate that.
It's Andrew. Andrew's doing a great.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Smith?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ms. Lasky?
Is there any update on that gateway, or is that gonna look like that all summer? They had that shovel ground, no change.
I don't have an update to share on that, but, you know, we're just hoping they do that sooner rather than later. But well, maybe.
I can tell you that the engineers have reached out to the building department. They're working through the construction plans. They're going to be submitting plans for the break wall first. They'll correct that. Then they've asked for us to issue them foundation-only permits until they complete the rest of the drawings.
Thank you, Jerry.
So it's moving just slowly.
Slowly, yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.